Welcome to this Portals of Perception Discovery conversation, where we sense with a group of friends the arena of leadership. We explore the arena of leadership. We sense into its emergent nature in our lives at this time as we are each experiencing the changes that are occurring in the world and in our lives, and the sense of how leadership is not something out there, but rather it is right here in how we choose to live every day in the various circumstances and roles that we operate in. You're about to join a conversation where we go all over the place through the various experiences, professional and personal, in our lives, because we are not inviting you to a certain method or methodology of leadership, but rather into the inquiry, the bigger inquiry of how can we each individually and collectively lead a life of meaning, a life of purpose, a life of learning and development and growth. Enjoy the discovery along with us in this exploration. We are exploring how we humans are finding ourselves anew through these times of change. And inside this inquiry, the metaphor or the mental model that we gravitate to is the idea of an operating system update. This frame proposes that there are certain elements of our humanity that carried us through the ages and that are still essential going forward. As an example, our capacity to learn and develop, our capacity to share and collaborate. These were elements of the old operating system, and they're being revitalized in a whole new way in the new operating system that is emerging at this time through crisis and discovery and change. This metaphor of an operating system update also brings to the foreground the realizations that there are elements that have no business in the future and are not part of the update. If we as humanity manage to not blow this place up and manage to make it actually works for the future, we can talk about elements like cruelty and oppressive subjugation and so on. Today, in this conversation, we bring indeed the focus to the leadership conundrum. And again, not so much in the way we look at leadership in the world, in the sense of political leadership or business leadership or any other leadership on the world stage, not because these are not important. They're actually very important. So we're not excluding those dimensions. Rather, we come from the side door or from the back door more into the core inquiry of leading as a core element of living. How do we lead our lives as individuals, as networks of people, as communities, in the various situations that we get to participate and engage? So let me begin by asking you to introduce yourself and to offer a first response to a rather simple question, which is, what comes alive for you when you hear the phrase leadership as an agency of assistance and easement?
Hello everyone, I'm Theodora Papanastasatou from Greece. I've been an educator for 40 years. In the last 30 years, I'm working as a teacher in the high school, public school, which offers a vast range of beautiful experiences. And about the question, the first location for me is that each human is unique. Our fingerprint is unique, our iris in the eye is unique, and therefore each one is allowed and should be permitted to find their uniqueness, to be able to locate, to understand, to learn, to know who they are and what they can offer from themselves that is completely their own, and it is a contribution to the whole, to their community, to their country, to their time. And I think this is a part of the quest of many young people today that I'm meeting, to ask, who am I and what can I do? Not because someone tells me, but because it's my human rights, in a way, to explore it in their own way.
So yes, so leadership as a facility and assistance for people to discover who they are and what they're about as they grow through their education years and beyond.
My name is Perry. In my life, I've been a coach and captain of sports teams. I also run a business and have to teach people how to do certain things. Even if it's as simple as how to shovel dirt or move a wheelbarrow in a landscaping business. And you find that in seeing a need, you are caused to offer assistance. But you need to have the need that you see in order to offer any assistance, which is a leadership. And when you start to see that someone has a unique way of moving a tool, you have to kind of hold I find myself holding back a bit to try to find what is the best way for that person to do this unique thing, because each person does it in their own way. And when you first proposed this question, Avi, I thought of a child first and how it takes the first step. And mommy or daddy comes up to them and wants to hold them. But eventually the child will say, no, mommy, I can do it myself. And that moment, the child becomes its own leader. And the mother leads by holding back and allowing that to happen. Now this training happens to us very young. Not always, and often we don't see it being carried forth into the future because of training and school and things that kind of root that idea out of us. But I'd like you to think today, whoever's watching this, is that what would leadership be for you walking through a park? And for me, it would be thinking, what is it that you see that needs to be done that you decide not to leave it for others? It could be anything, a lost dog, some trash on a place that you know disturbs the sense of that space. How, if you want to be a leader, you have to practice it in small ways, often, for it to live with you.
Indeed, so leadership is seeing, recognizing the need and finding a way to respond to the need, or being called to respond to the need in whatever way you see fit, including deciding that it's for you to do and to respond to, because unless you do, nobody else will.
Hi all, this is Jane Goodman, and I would say that leadership has been part of my life since childhood, finding myself there, never seeking it. And since then, I have, whether it's been heading up different projects to owning businesses and having staff, employees, people I work alongside with, to being part of a residential community and overseeing that, I can go on and on. It seems that it keeps finding me. So that's where I would start with introducing myself, as well as being a mother and a grandmother. So there's multiple angles of leadership that can be approached here. And when I look at Aviv, your question, and I'm looking at it to do with as an agency of assistance and easement, we'll put in perhaps 2 or 3 different points here. One, to do with being a mother or a parent, and that sense of the responsibility of assisting those youth, the child, in becoming independent. And part of independence is to be able to think for oneself, to be able to be fine with making mistakes, and to know that it's a lifelong journey. So inside of that, the core principles are part of easement and assistance inside of leadership, because each has their own natures, of the children or people, it doesn't matter. Each has their own natures, their own styles, their own ways, their own speeds and timings. And the easement in that is actually my own self-leadership. To be able to be watchful, to be listening, to be observing all the time, to know when to step back, when to step forward. Then to add in to do with engaging with other adults in leadership functions, it's very much that agency of assistance and easement is in mentoring, in making space for them to find their own leadership in themselves and to know of oneself more. Once again, inside of whether it's a project or a life in their own journey, what are their core beliefs, and assisting them in finding them and living them.
Yes, leadership is an agency of assistance for people to grow throughout their entire journey, always at a new stage in the discovery of who they are and what they can do and become.
Hi, my name is Liz Halter, and my experience in leadership covers a range of activities. On the one hand, as a co-worker, being a senior engineer, people look to me for guidance and collaboration and project leadership, to being a good neighbor and being on a board of directors for the HOA, being a center leader in a meditation center, and other volunteer positions like that. So you asked the question about what excites us about leadership as an agency of assistance and easement. Well, that excites me because that makes those roles and those tasks actually enjoyable, because otherwise, if that's not what it's about, if what you're about isn't really about humans and human life, bringing life to whatever situation the involvement is with, then it becomes, just a task, a job, which takes the joy out of it. So this really makes it something worthwhile.
Yes, so leadership as a bringer and the bringing of life, and as an agency where something that a moment earlier was routine or a chore becomes animated with possibility. that attracts and inspires. All that you're offering, Liz, is part of leadership.